Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Motivational Monday, where each one teach one. How you guys doing today? Hope you had a beautiful, beautiful week. All right. Father, thank you for your son, Jesus Christ. Thank you that you love us, and thank you for your mercy beyond comprehension. We thank you for your unfailing, unfulfillment, your love that never ceased, and your mercy that are new every morning, every day. Lord, we acknowledge our own limitation and weariness. We need you to strengthen us to face challenges. We believe that through you we can do all things. Renew our mind, strength, and fill us with your power. Help us to trust in you and to preserve you. In Jesus' precious name I pray. Amen. Thank you again, as I said, for logging in today. Happy Holy Week for those that are celebrating Easter. I know most of you guys have been fasting and all that good stuff. All right. So the word of today, Philia is still out. She's not well. So I'm here. And later on, I have a special guest who will be joining me. So for now, the word of today is drutas. Is an informed word that refers to the power of opportunity to choose in often free choice. So once again, the word of this week are droughters. I want to say happy birthday today to Anderson Drakes. May you live to see many, many more. Belated birthday going out to David Worrell Jr., my nephew, Claudette Stewart, and Kathleen P. Worrell. Happy birthday. If you're celebrating a birthday today, guys, may God continue to bless you and keep you safe. So I have a health tip for you guys today. And we're going to chat a little bit about, let me pull it up. We're going to talk a little bit about screening for autism spectrum disorder. And we want to recognize this month is Autism Month. So I know some people out there have children who suffers with autism, and I know it can be challenging at times, but know that you're not alone in the struggle. I also watched on Netflix have a series called Love on the Spectrum. I think people who have children or don't know about autism, I recommend that you have a look at it. You will learn a lot because I did. Again, diagnosing autism spectrum disorder can be difficult because there is no medical test, such as a blood test, to diagnose the disorder. Doctors look at a child development history and behavior to make the diagnosis. Some people with ASD are not diagnosed until they are adolescents or adults. This delay means that they might not get the early help they need. Developmental monitoring is an active, ongoing process of watching a child grow and encouraging conversation between parents and providers about a child's skills and ability. Development monitoring involves observing how your child grows and whether your child meets the typical developmental milestone or skills that most children reach by a certain age in playing, learning, speaking, behaving, and moving. Parents and grandparents, early childhood education providers, and other caregivers can participate in developmental monitoring. Learn the signs and act early. Programs have developed free materials, including CDC Milestone Tracker app, to help parents and providers work together to monitor your child's development and know that there might be a concern if more screening is needed. You can use a brief checklist of milestones to see how your child is developing. If you notice that your child is not meeting the milestone, talk to a doctor or nurse about your concern and ask about the developmental screening. Learn about it, when to take your child to a well visit. Your child doctor or nurse will also do the monitoring. Your child doctor or nurse may also ask about your child family history. Be sure to let the doctor or nurse know of any condition that your child's family or members have, including autism spectrum disorder. So again, we are celebrating, I think it's the 18th of this month is Autism Day. So again, I'm not a doctor, guys. This is from Google. All right. So I have verse of the week for you guys. And we are going to, hold 1 second. Let me get my verse of the week. All right. Okay, so the verse of the week will be reading from 1 Timothy 4:15 to 16. Be diligent in these matters. Give yourself wholly to them, so that everyone may see your progress. Watch your life and doctrine closely. Persevere in them, because if you do, you will save both yourself and your hearers. Be diligent, that is not a phrase, a common you must hear about these days. We want things to come easy. Sweat in the world, or faith is forward upon. So be diligent and be steadfast, and always know that God is in control and He knows best in everything or every challenge that we have going on in our life. Again, so verse of the week is coming from 1 Timothy 4:15 and 16. So guys, I have a special guest and we're going to bring him on shortly. First, I want to read his bio so we can get familiarized. Remember to like and share the page. Ask any questions you want. All right? So our guest tonight is Anslem Douglas, and I'm going to bring Anslem on shortly. Let me bring him on now, and then I'll read the bio. Hi, good night, Anslem. You hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Thank
How
you
you do?
for good, good. Thank you for coming to Motivational Monday, where each one teach one. So I just want to read a little from your bio, okay?
Okay,
Anslem
no problem.
was introduced to music at a very young age. He was born on July the 23rd, 1964, in a small southern village of Trinidad. He began performing at his local community center as a child and his Pentecostal church. Douglas exposed to the arts by his sister, who was a talented poet. At 16, him and several of his friends formed a band, Exodus, and then quickly gained in popularity. Following this, he joined the Coast Guard for 6 years and was enlisted. He continued to hone his talents in the Coast Guard band. He was a natural talent. He has a natural talent for music and is a versatile musician. His genres and his influence range from gospel, reggae, calypso, and R&B, among others. His mix of song can be attributed to his admiration for Caribbean stars Blakey and Lord Kitchener, as well. R&B vocals, Pepto Bryson and James Ingram. Douglas brings a mix of style to his music and created major of his hits, including Ragga Pum Pum, Good music to dance and his internationally acclaimed Grammy winning hit, Who Let the Dogs Out. So once again, thank you again, Anslem, for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm feeling
Blessed
my
and
best.
favored.
Yes, I am. How you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Mm-hmm.
So our program is about, you know, each one teach one. And when I started, well, this is my fifth year doing, the motivational. And I like to get guests on who I know been through the struggle, who could give
Mm-hmm.
advice out there to young people who's coming up and trying to get the foot into the arena.
Yeah,
So you want to give us a little more background? I see you're a southerner like I am. I'm from Coquia. You're from Laramie, right?
from Laramie. Yeah, born and bred Laramie.
Yes.
Um, I went to school, San Fernando Boys RC. I was
Oh,
15 hours from that, San Fernando.
yes.
Um, I always look back at my childhood. I think I had a wonderful childhood growing up. I did all the things that little boys growing up, and those days you call Laramie country, right?
Right.
I did all the little things that little country boys would do, from roll ruler, people don't know about rolling ruler again,
No.
you know. You
People
used to,
think
you used to have,
upscotch, right?
you have to have your bicycle rim
Yes.
and your stick. And if you're going in the shop, you take your roller and you're rolling your roller because that was your toy. Because
Yes.
remember, you came from a time where people didn't have money like they have today.
Right.
And even those who had money, there was no access to things. We live in a world now where it's about things. Everybody wants things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we didn't grow up with a lot of things, but we grew up with a lot of love. And
Yes.
uh, and children were creative. You have to make your toys, you know.
Yes.
Um, so you had your ruler, your marbles, you know. I know sometimes we didn't have marbles and we take them little green gopher,
Yeah.
little green gopher and they play pitch with that. You know, if you had marbles, if you couldn't afford to go to the shop to buy a cup, you go in the guava patch and cut a piece of wood and you shave it down and you go in your uncle's toolbox and you get a nail and you put it in and you're spinning top. So it was top and making your own kite. So my childhood was just a lot of fun. Putting things like lagly on tree branch. So when the
Yes.
bird come, it stick on the tree and it can catch a
Yeah.
bird. You know, I had a really wonderful childhood growing up playing in Laramie, running around. And I think it's sad, and I know I kind of going off on a little tangent here, but I think it's
That's
sad.
okay.
I think it's sad that
The
kids
younger
today
children.
can't play outside.
Yes.
Playing outside now, you have to have supervised play, where a
Yes.
parent has to sit down and watch you play because somebody might snatch your child and you never see them again in life. It's
Right.
a sad world we live in. But coming back to my history, I grew up in Laramie. I went to St. Benedict's College in Laramie too.
Okay.
You and from a very early age, I started in church in a Pentecostal church in Laramie.
Right.
And I think I was like 14, and I started singing in the choir. And then me and a bunch of guys, we formed our own little group called
Right.
Exodus. It was a group made up of six men, young men at the time. All of us old now. One passed the other day,
Okay.
but it was six of us. And we had this band called Exodus, and you know, sometimes I would drum, sometimes I would sing, because everybody would change instruments sometimes. Sometimes you see the keyboardist playing bass, and the
Right.
bassist playing keyboards, or the drummer singing, and it was just we just used to have fun. And
Yes.
I think when I turned 17, I moved from Laramie and went down to Dow Village, Oropuch to live with
Think
my
so.
uncle down. Yeah, Dow Village, Oropuch, and I was down there. And that is where I wrote the exams to get into the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. So I was just
Okay.
about 17 or 18, somewhere around there.
Very
And
young.
very young, So I actually got into the Coast Guard just as I turned 20. As I
Wow.
as I as I stepped out of my teens, I turned 20 on the 23rd of July,
Yeah.
and I joined Coast Guard on the 15th of October. So July, September, August, July, August, September, October. 3 months after I was in the Coast Guard.
So how was that experience working in the
Oh, Coast Guard. When I look back now, after 41 years, when I look back now, I realize, you join the Coast Guard, and in your mind, you think you are a big man.
right?
you know, you,
Yes.
you, you, you always think, I'm a big man, I'm working for my own money. But when you look back, you realize when you're 20, you're a child.
Right.
You're a child. Now looking back 41 years, you realize, boy, you didn't know anything.
Right.
You didn't know anything. But, you were in the moment.
Right.
You knew what you knew then, and you were in the moment. So it's good to look back and
Yeah.
realize, sometimes even laugh at yourself, realize, boy, you were so silly ever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You look back and you laugh at yourself, or you look back and you realize, mistakes you've made. Because I always tell people that I say, the past is, you know, I heard it somewhere and then I just made it mine. I always hold on to that because
Right.
the past is a place that you visit. You don't live there.
Correct.
You know, you go and have a vacation in the past and you come back. But
Right.
when you go on a vacation, it's really the idea is to draw strength and draw knowledge.
Right.
It's not to go to the past and feel sorry for yourself
Yeah.
and
To
move
stay there.
and
To
move
stay
about
stuck.
mistakes that you made. You know,
Exactly.
you go back in the past because I, I believe, I truly believe that life prepares you for life.
Okay.
There's a saying, God don't give you more than you can bear.
Yes.
It's exactly that. Life prepares you for life. Whatever you're going through now,
Right.
you're prepared. You're prepared for it. You are
Yes.
prepared for it. So when I look back, or I go back there, I go for strength. I go for knowledge, and I can bring that forward because I always use this example too. When you were a baby, 2 months old, your mother didn't give you beef to eat.
Right.
Your digestive system wasn't ready for it.
Correct.
You would be on her breast and she would nurse you, right? Because
Yeah.
that's all your digestive system was ready for. And after a few months, you'll see her mash some potatoes,
Right.
mash some pumpkin, and then lo and behold, you start to see two little fronties start to pop out through your gum.
Yes.
You know what's going on there? That is life preparing you for life.
Yes.
Starting
Develop.
to get teeth, which means soon you're going to be able to eat meat and eat other things,
Right.
heavier things. Life is preparing you for life. So whatever you're going through, you're supposed to know that, I was made for this, I was built for this,
Right.
and you could the old cliche, whatever God brought you to, he will take you through.
Yes.
So coming back to the story, I spent that time in the Coast Guard, and I spent 6 years, which is one tour,
Right.
um, because a lot of people don't know this, but in the military, it's contract work, and you sign a contract when you join, and you go
Right.
through recruit training and all that stuff, and then you have your big passing out parade, and then you join the ranks of the rest of men, and you
Right.
try to move up the ranks, doing the right thing. You learn the job as you go along,
Yes.
um, because that recruit training is what you call basic training,
Yes.
you know. But as you go along, you go through different levels of training until you start to develop as a true sailor. Like I did the course in coastal navigation and marine firefighting and all that stuff. As
Okay.
you go along, you do different courses. Some people
Right.
do the
So do you
paramedic course.
master one eventually?
Well, you have the option to do as many courses as you like. They call them SQ, special qualification,
Okay.
right? So you could do the medic course and you become a paramedic.
Okay.
You could become a gunner. You could become a diver.
Okay.
You could do what you want to do as you go along. So that, and I always advise people, whatever courses you're doing, make sure it's something that you could export.
Right.
so that when your days are done in the Coast Guard or in the military, you
You
could
could
take that talent and use it in the civilian world.
very good.
You know? So I from even while I was in the Coast Guard, I knew that music was what I wanted to do. Even though I love to see, from a little boy, I was in Boy Scouts and all that kind of stuff. So I always loved to see and love that kind of stuff. And
You
but
know, something you said just now,
mhm,
life prepares you for life. Looking from your story that you're telling now, it shaped
mhm,
you for the person that you are today.
oh
Seeing that
yeah,
you're Boy Scout, you end up in,
mhm.
serving.
Everything. Life is such an amazing thing, and it's not as complicated as we try to make it.
Right,
The thing was, when I was a little boy in church, I remember my pastor preaching a sermon one day, and the name of the sermon was "Decision Determines Destiny."
mm-hmm.
Truth about the matter is this: most of what happens in your life is based on a decision you made.
Right,
Think about it really. Whatever is going on in your life now, think about what decision you made brought you to this point in your
right,
life. Good, bad, or indifferent.
correct.
It could be what? The person you get married to, the village that you live in, the house that you bought, everything that you do in life, the car that you drive, you know,
Right,
everything that you do in life or that you're experiencing in life, most of it has a lot to do with a decision you made somewhere 5 minutes ago or 5 years ago.
right.
But it's based on a decision. Your decision determines your destiny.
Mm,
So I made a decision after when my 6 year contract was coming to an end. I made a decision um, to not sign over. I had the
right,
option to re-sign for another 3 years or another 6 years, and I decided, you know what, I am going to step out, step out into the world and see what it has to offer. Because prior to that, I had auditions with big bands in Trinidad. I had auditions with um, younger people wouldn't know these bands, but bands like Song Revolution,
right.
bands like Taxi,
Yes,
Second Image,
yes.
and all three bands accepted me, but fired me the same time because they realized I was in the military. And these are bands that travel.
Right.
And because you're in the military, you don't have the wiggle room, the flexibility to
Get
jump on a plane and
and go.
go anywhere in the world and perform. So it would not have worked out. So when I left Coast Guard 6 years day to day after joining, which would have been the 15th of October, 6 years later,
Right.
right? And I remember being called by a gentleman by the name of Kenny Phillips.
Yes, I know Kenny.
Right. Kenny called me to do a medley of soca songs that they had that year,
Right.
you know. And I did the medley, and that just started to play on the radio like nonstop. And I think from there, people were wondering, who the hell is this guy?
Right.
Because I was a I was a new voice in town because I was performing in all those pubs and stuff in San Fernando for years. I was performing there um, with people like Body Love. I don't know if you remember a guy like Body Love who used to do the limbo with the girls and stuff. I worked with Body Love, myself, Francis Prime, Kenny, uh, uh, Kenny J.
Yeah, Kenny J.
God rest his soul. We used to be
Yes.
performing in all these pubs and stuff in San Fernando. We had our own little band there too. This is before I even joined Coast Guard. So this is
Right.
that two and a half year period between 17 and 20, somewhere inside there. I would be performing all over San Fernando. So,
Right.
I never really came off a stage. I was always on stage.
So
But
let me ask you, Anslem,
mhm,
at what age you know you had that voice for singing, or who encouraged you? In church
um,
only? Your mom? Who
no,
pushed you?
no, I was a little boy, and what would happen is every Sunday evening there used to be a show on TV called on radio called Dave Elcock Hit Parade.
Yes.
Right, I used to happen on a Sunday evening, and me and my sisters. My brother came 6 years after, so he was baby. But
Right.
me and my sisters, who were just year and a half apart, we would move the sofa because it was hardwood floor, um,
Right.
vanish floor, and put on socks and skate like James Brown, and you
Yes.
dance to to from everything from Captain and Tennille to Diana Ross, to um, you name it, you name it. Sam Cooke, anybody who was playing on the radio, we were singing along and dancing to the song. The
Right.
Carpenters, the OJs, the Stylistics, and you start singing, and you singing, and you realize in your head, you realize, oh wait, I can sing.
Yeah.
The kind of door that you can do something and you like doing it. And I just fell in love with singing. I like to be telling my mom, Mommy, I got something like Sparrow. You find
Yeah.
out something like Sparrow when I sing. And she said, Boy, you can sing like Sparrow, behave yourself. Huh? And that was, but I always loved it from that tender age. I was in love with singing and being on stage and dancing and performing. I'm not a good dancer,
Right.
but when you're small, when you're young, you're fearless. You know, a little child will get up and dance in front of a crowd. They don't care. No, you
Yes.
know. I don't know if I was dancing correct, but I had on my socks and skating like James Brown, and mimicking the Jackson Five and all that kind of stuff growing up. So
Right.
to answer your question, since that age, I knew I wanted to be on stage. I
I
knew it.
important because I think sometimes you see something special in a kid and you
Hmm.
push them. But I like to hear the story of how you started. I want to
Yeah.
also thank you very much for your service to Trinidad and Tobago. Thank
Okay.
you for being a Grammy Award winner. How has
But
this
but no, I have to correct that. People always
okay,
say it wrong. The Grammy Award winning songwriter.
right there. Yes.
I wrote the song that won the Grammy.
How was that feeling? Because I mean
Oh,
everyone knows about that song.
that
I
that was that was amazing. That was amazing. To know that you did a piece of work that is recognized not only by John Public but by your peers,
yes.
and go to, as far as we know, the highest award in music. I don't think there's any other musical award that is so recognized and sought after like the Grammy.
Yes.
So to make it to the top of your game as a
Mm-hmm.
songwriter and say, whoa, and receive accolades and plaques and all kind of stuff from the Grammy committee and all, people from the Grammy committee calling you, and it just feel like, whoa, you know.
Right.
But everything is a wave. It's a wave, and it's a moment in time,
Right.
and I think a lot of times we live in the past and we hold on to the past.
Right.
Again, the past is a place to go back and visit, and it was something great that I think I accomplished, but
Yeah.
I think there are bigger and better things to come still.
Right.
You know, I always believe that. I think um, sometimes it's just when great things happen in your life, you got to see it as just a glimpse of the possibilities.
Right.
Because if in your heart you say, okay, that's it, I max out, then you would max out.
Right.
So for me, I think it was a glimpse of things to come.
Right.
And that's why I'm still working on my craft as a songwriter, as a singer, performer, now as a children's author.
Yeah. Congratulations on your book also.
Yeah, so it's good stuff, and I am grateful and thankful to the because sometimes we walk around with our chest so big,
Yes.
like we did something. You didn't do nothing. Trust me, you didn't do nothing. You didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
You were allowed. As we say in Trinidad, yeah, the God allow you.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
didn't do anything because I always tell young artists too. You go out there and you sing a little one song and people start to call your name. Don't move
Exactly.
around as if you do all that on a bag of chips. No,
Correct. I see
Because
them.
the reality, sorry?
I see it all the time.
Yeah, yeah. They walk around like if, well, they're God.
Yep.
And people can't talk to them in the street or give them a little bounce or say, these are the people who you're making music for.
That's what I just
You,
always say.
because you go to bed one night and as Black Stallion say, rest his soul, rest his soul, you say, next thing you go to bed and you wake up and God take away your one truth. so, so you wake up and you can't, and I've heard of cases where singers just lose their voice.
Yes.
I think it happened to Celine Dion, I think, and then it happened to
Yeah.
somebody else, and you just lose your voice, it's gone.
Yep.
And that is just proof that you're not really in control. Thank God for it every day, for the
Yes.
gift that He gave you, that you could bring happiness and laughter to the hearts of men, and by men I mean mankind,
Right.
bring some sort of joy to people's lives. Yes, so thank God for that. And see yourself as a servant. See yourself as, you know, you're just a servant.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Raga Pom Pom, what was the thought behind that one?
I didn't write Raga Pom Pom.
Oh, okay.
I didn't write Raga Pom Pom. That was written by a gentleman called Blackstone. His real name is Alan. Huh, so they wouldn't come up, but it's Alan something. But
Okay.
that was Stone, and Blackstone wrote that song. And when he brought it to me, I was like, like a pom pom boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is early in my career,
Yeah.
right? This is early, and I'm thinking, is this the direction I want to go? Because even from that age, or being so young in the business, I kind of knew that you want to go you want your career to go in a direction. But then somebody told me to say, listen, the greatest person in the business of calypso and soca is Sparrow.
Right.
And Sparrow sang everything. He sings
Yes.
political songs, he sings smut, he sings nation building songs, he sings humor, a wide spectrum of music, you
Right.
know. Nobody's saying that you have to stick on that, but try, you know. And I did, and Raga Pum Pum, people think it was a smut song, but in those days, women were wearing pum pum shorts,
Right.
right? I don't remember, everybody was having a pum pum shorts,
Yeah.
you know. And then the shorts started to get holes in it too.
Right.
And then remember, we had a music called Raga Soca.
Yes.
So he kind of combined a whole bunch of different ideas into one and call it Raga Pum Pum.
Right.
Because Raga Pum Pum, and that was the song right there, and it was done and it was produced by Leston Paul,
Okay.
and it became to date one of the biggest songs, Raga Pum Pum. Even anytime I perform that, it still have a great reaction with the crowd.
Great
And that's
reaction. For the word
that,
state, you know.
huh?
I say,
What's that?
word state. You could sing it, you could sing along with it, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes people singing a song and you can't sing along with it, but it catchy, you know.
Yeah, and it's simpler to breathe into. A
Yes.
lot of room for you to breathe. So it was fun, and that was the people who know that song now, who wasn't born when it was released. They weren't born,
Right.
you know. So
Even like who let the dogs out? Roof, roof. You know, you never hear a song like that again. You know what I mean?
right,
It just
right. I,
it's
I think I
yeah,
think that song, when that song was released in 1997, 1997. So that would make it how old now? Almost that would make it 28 years now, 28,
right.
somewhere around there. Yeah, yeah.
And it's
About
still
20.
going strong.
When that song was released, at first I couldn't wrap my brain around the response it got,
You're right.
because this is for real. People in Trinidad start going to the hardware stores and stuff and buying dog collars.
Right.
And I saw people in fact, women in fact, holding their boyfriend with a dog collar. I go, what kind of bad people think is this? You know? And today, people still don't really understand the lyric of the song.
Right.
People say you're singing about an ugly woman, and that is not true. The song is
Right.
actually a man bashing song.
Right.
Yeah,
Nicole saying it,
because
song is even in movies. Yes, I heard it in
if,
movies also.
if you remember around that time, 1997, 98, around that time, men were calling women sketel.
Yeah.
That was a slang. Hey, you sketel, hey,
Yes, get
whatever.
it. Yeah.
And I started to write that song with the understanding that this guy, you know, like he making a move on a girl in a party. And
Right.
she said, last year in the dance, last year in the party, you had a
Mm.
ball. You called me Millibug and Sketel.
Right.
Get back, Fluffy. Mash, Fluffy. Get back, you flea infested mongrel.
Mm.
So she's now looking at him and saying, who let the dogs out?
Yes.
So it's women actually calling men dogs.
Dogs. Right.
Mhm. So that's pretty much the song right there.
Wow.
That's pretty much
Well,
the
we
song
get
right
clarification tonight, eh?
there. Oh
I
yeah. Oh
I think that you're amazing, and we giving you flowers tonight because I don't believe in giving people flowers when they pass on. I
yeah.
believe in giving you flowers now, and you are an icon for our country and representing Canada and all over the world.
Oh
Is
yeah.
the Mhm.
I am thankful and grateful for it. And again, every morning I wake up, I thank God for another day and life.
Yeah,
And look, you see so many young people now just falling down and dropping down, dead,
yes,
heart attack. You know. So every morning you get up, you really gotta thank God. And not only when I get up in the morning, through the day, and I
yeah,
really thank God for life and the blessings, you know, providing for you. Sometimes I'm gonna tell you something. Sometimes we get so caught up in looking at what other people have.
yes,
Other people in the big house or other people in the fancy car. My
yes,
mother had a thing, she say, never look at people and
yeah,
envy what other people have. You don't know what they did to get it.
yeah,
And that could mean good things or bad things. That could mean hard work or that could mean shady stuff. You
yeah.
don't know what they did to get what they have. You work hard for yours and be thankful for what you have.
Amen.
Be thankful for your half of bread. And, parents used to instill that in their children almost. So you grow up with this sense of gratitude and thanks that you have a shirt to put on. You
Yes,
know, I remember saying things like, what pants to wear to go to church, and my mother say, if you only had one, you wouldn't have that problem.
correct, correct. Nicole is saying,
Because
take
to what
it
pants,
for
you
granted.
wouldn't have
Yes,
that problem. Because
it's
it's one,
true.
right? So
Yes,
those little things make you think and realize, wow, yeah, the mere fact that I could think about what shoes to wear with this pants, that's a blessing right there because some
yeah.
people don't have
Don't
one
have
pair.
it.
You could contemplate on what shoes to wear with this pants,
Right,
and we still not grateful and thankful for that.
right.
Sometimes we open our fridge and we say, what to
Mm,
drink, boy, because you have choices to drink, choices.
yes,
And we take these things for granted. We take these things
yes,
for as a joke. So I try to live, and I know goody two shoes, but I try to live always in a space, in a mind space, and in a mental, in a spiritual space of being thankful for
right.
waking up and being able to eat. You
Yes,
know, I say man have, in commerce, we used to call it commerce then. Now they call it principles of business, I think. So in
yes.
commerce, they used to tell you man has three basic necessities: food,
Good.
shelter, clothing, right?
Yeah,
And if you eat for the day, if you have a roof over your head, and you have clothes to put on, you're richer than most of the people in the world. You
I
would not
think
believe that. You would not
Nicole,
believe that. You're richer than most of the people in the world.
exactly. Nicole is saying half of a loaf is better than a whole one.
And so
And
this is better. I agree.
I think too, growing up back then and slim, with
Hmm.
social media now, and things that is going around. I think a lot of people lose the essence of themselves. One, two, they try to be like other people, which they're not authentic. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that, the craft now that we have, you want to emulate somebody. But I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people who like to stay within themselves, and don't matter, people might think you're different, but that's
Yeah.
your style, that's your game.
But
And
you know, there are lots of people. There are lots of people who are not comfortable in their own skin. You know,
mm,
so they mimic other people because I want to
right,
be like that person. Why don't want to be like you? You know, this journey called life is about self discovery. It's
right,
about every day waking up and knowing a little bit more about you. And what you know about you, the things about you don't like, you try to fix. You know, you hear people talk about make me a better version of myself. How could you make
yeah,
yourself a better version of yourself when you're
right,
not willing to take an introspective look at who you are?
right,
Look at who you
yeah,
are, but you know what? You want to look like this one, and you want to be like that one, and you want to. You're not taking time off to look at who you are and then become a better, truly a better version of yourself. And the only way you could become better is to fix the bad,
correct.
fix the wrong. So you realize, you know what? I have a tendency to lie, you know. You would know that. No, no, no. I mean, you would not believe. I heard somebody say something today. In a simple conversation, people would tell about six, seven lies in a simple conversation.
Wow.
Knowingly lying, you know. We're not talking about, okay, I was giving you some history about myself, right?
Right,
I am sure in the mix there, if we could really go back in time, you would
mhm,
see that some of the dates might be a little off because it's years and years. So
right,
but you're not willfully misleading people. You
right.
have people who, when they're talking, they know they're lying. And they want you to defend. They want you to defend, and they're lying. And
Yes,
they know. So when you look at yourself, you want you to say, you know what? This is a bad trait I have. This, because you become best at what you do most. So if
right,
you practice lying, you're going to become a good liar.
right,
So you have to start to search yourself and realize, you know what? This is a trait I have in me that I am not happy with. You know what? I'm going to try and not lie for the whole day.
right,
If I go and open my mouth and I go and lie, I'm going to hush my mouth. I'm not going to say anything. Practice that. You know, search
right.
yourself. If you realize, boy, I have a tendency to touch people, you know, like the thief. Look at going to you and find the wrong things, find the fault, you know, and try to fix it. And that is becoming a better version of yourself every day. This journey, this life experience is about self discovery, you know, and finding yourself and understanding who you are and
Right,
how you fit in this in the grand scale of things, how you fit in,
right.
you
Was
know, that,
there a favorite place that you perform that you like?
whew, this might sound really weird. Back in the day when I go to schools to perform,
Mm,
because when the carnival season comes, you're doing
a
a
lot.
million shows. You know,
Yes.
every night you're doing 4 and 5 shows. You're performing from, as they say, fet after fet after fet after fet. Back
Yeah.
then, right?
Yeah.
And so you're doing fets in the night. So you're going to come off your last stage by 4:15 in the morning. You're off your last stage,
Wow.
and then before you wake the sun up, but you just go home, catch a five,
Right.
and you might have an interview on TV. You might have a radio interview. You might have a
Right.
rehearsal with a band.
Right.
Yes, and you have 2 schools to do during the day. So there's
Right.
no real rest period, you know. So you're going,
Wow.
going, going. Right? When I go to the school, these children back then they were so
Excited.
receptive,
Mhm.
excited. They didn't really care about who you are, you know.
Right.
I came to realize that they didn't care about this is Anslem Douglas or this is Denise Belfort or this is Marshall Montano or this is Ricky Jai. They didn't really care.
Right.
And again, names are calling from back in the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They,
Back in the days.
or this is Iowa George, or this is Super. They did not really care. when you pull back now and you look, they're just happy to know that that the artist came to their school
Cool.
and they're now part of the festivity.
Right.
They used to scream and jump and have a good time. No judgment free zone.
Yes.
Judgment free kids that come to judge you.
No.
They come to say, Mr. You're stupidness. Me I like his song. No, they're just happy to be there, jumping up with their friends. An
Yeah.
artist coming to school and he in the crowd jumping up with them. To me, that felt there's not a greater feeling than performing for little children because they're just appreciative of your music. They're not
Mm.
here to judge you. They're not here to make you feel bad or to make you feel less than. They are your biggest fans. They're screaming. They're coming with the pen. Write on my dollar for me, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
sign your name for me, sir. Sir. Oh my God. And it's just constant. And you know it's coming from a good place.
Good
Because
place.
they go home and tell mommy, Mommy, look what sir signed for me.
Yes.
Who's that? I don't know. He was in the school today. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. And I love that. So to answer your question, I think performing in the schools and performing to little children was the most joyous feeling, the best feeling. But I've had great shows everywhere from St. Vincent,
Yes.
Grenada, Sweden, London, Israel, Zimbabwe, all over Toronto. I've
Yeah.
had great shows all over. But to
Right.
me, that that will always stand out. Going to the schools and performing, I love
Nice. Have you ever had a worst time on stage? That you think?
that. It was a worst time, but looking back now, I always laugh at it.
Right.
I always laugh at it. And I'll give you the story.
Hmm.
I went to St. Vincent to perform. Those days, I have five songs.
Right.
Five. Five songs that I'm performing.
Right.
Good music to dance.
Hmm.
Rock back on it. Raga pum pum. Jump and mash up the party.
Hmm.
And Parvati. Five
Right.
songs. I had other songs, but those songs were not known. These were the five songs that people knew and all of that.
Right.
Going to Vincent to perform. I didn't know that Vincent people party so hard. I really didn't know. I, I go on thinking, I'm from Trinidad, I come to mash up the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am on the stage, and there's a band called Black Sand from St. Vincent. And we're in a club called the Aquatics Club.
Hmm.
I don't know if the Aquatics Club is still there, but
Right.
I am there in St. Vincent. And I have my five songs. So I get on stage. The band knew, I said the music ahead of time, so the band knew the songs. They typed,
Right.
band sounded real good. Get on stage and we going on the road. Yeah, honey in the air. What up? Yeah, you have enough time.
Yeah.
I finished singing my five songs. So I say, the last song was Raga Pum Pum. I say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. St. Vincent. Good night. And I come off the stage. There was no high stage.
Right.
It was a stage you could, like, 1 foot off. It was more like a ride.
Right.
But the place packed.
Hmm.
Three full-bodied women. I'm talking about tall, strapped-in women. There's a strapped-in man. I mean, big girls. That was a big girl.
Yeah.
When I come up the stage, they start for the body. They say, where you going? I say, I say, enjoy the show. She say, one say, you are done singing yet. You are done singing yet. And they literally throw me back on the stage. I'm talking about like if I was a lightweight.
Yeah.
They just, these women flip, they say, you done sing, you know start to sing, and throw me back on the stage. So, well, in St. Vincent, back, I don't know if it's changed now, but back then in the sees DJs and parties,
Right.
It's the band playing whole night.
Right.
Ask any Vincy person, the band playing whole night. I don't
Wow.
know where them players get that energy from. But
Hmm.
they fling me back on stage, and so I look at the captain and he says, let's go, because they have business, let's come to play. And I sing, and here's the thing with St. Vincent. You could sing the same song for half an hour. They don't
Right,
care.
right.
They
They just
come to
want to party.
party.
Yeah.
They come to have a time. So I
Time.
sing good music to dance about 3 times. I sing jump and mash up the party about 4 times. And if you remember that song has some really high notes. Everybody! So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a real high energy song. I sing about 4 times. Every song is about 5 songs. I sing each song about 4 times. And when I come up the stage, when I watch them, I say, they do me so like, yeah, you can come up now. You're good now.
Yeah.
I say, I go back to Vincent again. You know, but yeah, end of the story though. The following night, I go on, we took a boat and went to another island, a smaller island. This is Beckway.
Yeah. Back way.
A small island. I think it's Beckway.
Yeah. I think back way. They have to take a boat to go over.
A little boat that is going across. Yeah.
Hmm.
So now I am there now and I'm going to perform. I remember what happened last night.
Yeah.
So I know I have 5 songs, same 5 songs.
Yeah.
So I start to talk between the songs now. Halfway I hear a woman say, but you're a damn politician. You come to sing or you come to talk. I can't win. I can't win. I can't win. So I had to sing the same songs again and did the same thing and sing it over.
Right.
But I can't say it's my worst performance, but it was a memorable experience
That
that I
is
will never forget. That was crazy. St. Vincent, and people have too much energy there. Too much energy down there.
good. All
Yeah.
right. So I have a segment here. It's called Ditch It or Keep It. All right.
Mhm.
So, or
Mhm.
you can keep it. You can keep both. All right. So the first
Uh,
one, doubles or alu pie.
I like both.
Okay. Kingfish or salmon.
Kingfish.
Okay. Reggae or R&B.
Huh. I like both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Las Cuevas or Clifton Hill Beach.
Give me last quavers.
All right. Sorrel or ginger beer.
I like them mixed. Sorry, you ever had sorry and ginger beer mix?
Yes.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
All
I
right.
love no, but eventually, if you give me sorry or ginger beer, I'll take ginger beer. Ginger beer.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Canada or England.
Canada, man.
All right. New Year's or Easter.
None. I'm not a holiday person at all.
Really?
No,
Okay.
I don't like holidays. I honestly think holidays are a waste of time.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why people decide holidays to do what. Just what.
Okay.
And you know
Foot.
what? A lot of the holidays are religious holidays,
Yeah.
and people just end up drinking rum and making a fool of themselves. So I don't even know the purpose of it. I don't like holidays.
All right. Football or basketball.
Basketball,
BMW or Mercedes Benz.
then
Okay. Fruits or vegetables.
fruit,
Gym life or no exercise.
gym life,
Cheese roll or currants roll.
current roll.
Rice and peas or fry rice.
Huh. I think I'll go with the rice and peas.
Okay. Trinidad Carnival or Caribana.
There is no place like Trinidad Carnival.
Okay, good. Crab and dumpling or saltfish and provisions.
Saltfish and provision. I think crab meat is too much a work for too the reward. Too much work
Yeah.
for too little reward. All this board and for a little bit yeah. I don't eat crab though, I don't eat it, but I when I used to I thought it was this is a lot of work for a little piece of meat, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This one is hard. Sparrow or Kitchener?
huh. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth on that one.
Okay.
I plead the fifth.
Jeans and shirt or jacket and tie? Dress up or dress down?
I like dress up.
All right. And the last one, tongue life or country life?
Country life. I
Good.
I don't like the song of Cyrene and horn. I prefer the sound of birds whistling and, you know, birds
That is good.
chirping. Yeah. Give me
Chirping.
country life anytime. Yeah.
So we get to know you a little better today, right?
I had fun. Trust me, I had fun. You know.
So, what advice you can give anybody out there who's listening right now? Again, we have people log on. Thank you guys for shouting out. And you want to let them know something. You want to sing something. It's the Holy Week. Where you want to leave them with?
Well, I like to give advice. I, I,
Right.
I somebody tell me I should have been a teacher, but I don't know. I like to give advice. Um, I think coming back to something we touched on earlier on,
Yes.
it's the Holy Week, so let's go into the scriptures a little bit,
Okay.
right? If you read the book of Genesis in chapter one, they talk about and God breathed the breath of life into man, and man became a living soul.
Mm-hmm.
So it's God's breath that takes you from mud, which is a dead soul or unalive soul, to God's breath that turn you into and man became a living soul. So he made man, he wasn't
Right.
a living soul, he was unalive until God breathed life into him and he became a living soul.
Right.
So in essence, this breath that we have here, as we breathe it in and out, that is the little piece of God we have in all of us.
Right.
That's the little piece of God we have in, and I think if you know who you are, you behave differently.
Right.
I'll tell you why. If you take an eagle or eagle's egg and put it under a duck, and a duck hatches, it hatch under a duck with the rest of ducklings, that eagle is going to walk around the yard thinking he is a duck.
Right.
And he might even try to quack. He might
Right.
even try to go in the pond and swim and realize, I can't swim like my brothers and sisters because you're not a duck, but you don't know. So if you only take into consideration that you have the breath of God in you, you have a little piece of God in you, then you start to carry yourself like a real child of God or offspring of God,
Right.
and understand that you're not fruit that fell on the ground, you're fruit that was handpicked,
Right. Like that.
and you carry yourself in
Fruits
a
that.
certain way now. You
Yeah.
carry yourself in a certain way because you understand who you are, and because of you understand who you are, every day you try to be a better person, to your neighbors and your friends and you know. Everybody talk about they going to church and there's Christian and this and that and they're bad talking the neighbor and
Right.
if you don't hear like she and they don't hear like he and he sees all like that and
Yes.
just try and my advice, all that to say this, my advice is to really and truly find yourself and understand that there is a piece of God in you and
Right.
let that little piece overpower any evil, any darkness that you might have in your life on a day-to-day basis. Because listen, the Bible tells you, work out your own salvation.
Mm-hmm.
With fear and trembling, work out your own salvation. So every day you have to get up and work on your salvation.
All the time.
Yeah. So that's me there.
Yes. Well, I want to say thank you again for coming on to Motivational Monday. Don't be a stranger. You
I,
can come and talk about your book next time.
mm-hmm,
Oh,
mm-hmm,
but I'm here, so you have my number. Stay.
right.
Thank you again. Have a blessed and safe night. Whatever
Thank
you're
you.
doing, blessings always. And again, congratulations on all your success. And I know you still have more things to do and maybe new things coming.
New
So
things
all
coming.
God's
New things coming. I'm
new.
not going to say anything, but new things coming. All right.
Yes. All
Yeah.
right. So have a blessed night. Thanks
Thank you
again.
so much, and thank you so much for having me on your program. I really appreciate it. God bless you,
God
and all
bless.
your listeners too. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay, guys,
Okay.
have a blessed and safe week. Remember, it's Autism Month. So be kind to somebody out there. All right. Stay tuned again for Swag 7, which will be June 14th. I have tickets. If you want tickets, contact me. Love in the house always. Again, each one teach one. Do a kind deed to somebody. Okay? Bye.